He arrived 3 hours late. His opponent had been waiting on a remote island since dawn, pacing the beach, growing furious. When the boat finally appeared, the waiting swordsman drew his blade and screamed across the water. He had already lost. This is the story of the most legendary duel in Japanese history, and why one warrior's mind broke before a single blow was struck. The year is 1612. Japan has just emerged from a century of brutal civil war. Tokugawa Ieyasu has united the country under his shogunate, and the age of battlefield slaughter is fading. But a new culture has taken hold, one of honor, discipline, and personal mastery. The samurai sword is no longer just a weapon. It is a philosophy, and 2 men have mastered it differently. Miyamoto Musashi was born around 1584 in Harima Province. By age 13, he had already killed his first opponent in a duel. By 30, he claimed to have fought over 60 duels without a single defeat. He fought with 2 swords, dressed like a beggar, and slept with one eye open. He was wild, unconventional, and utterly terrifying. Sasaki Kojiro was everything Musashi was not. Refined, aristocratic, celebrated. He was the official sword instructor to the powerful Hosokawa clan. His technique, the Tsubame Gaishi, or swallow counter, was said to be unstoppable. It mimicked the movement of a swallow's tail in flight, a lightning-fast counterstrike that reversed direction mid-swing. No one had ever survived it. The rivalry had been building for years. Musashi wandered Japan on a warrior's pilgrimage called Musha Shugyo, a journey of constant combat to forge his spirit. Wherever he went, word spread. There was a warrior out there who fought with raw instinct and broken rules. The polished schools of swordsmanship despised him. Kojiro heard the stories and wanted to answer them. The Hosokawa clan brokered the match. Lord Tadaoki Hosokawa admired Musashi and wanted to see the 2 greatest swordsmen of the era settle the question once and for all. The location chosen was Funajima, a tiny uninhabited island in the Kanmon Strait, now called Ganryujima. The date was set, April 13, 1612. Kojiro accepted immediately. Musashi accepted, then went silent. Dawn broke on April 13th. Kojiro arrived on the island early, dressed impeccably, his long nodachi gleaming. He waited. The appointed hour came and went. Then another hour. Then another. His second-in-command urged patience. His retainers muttered. The sea breeze ruffled the water. Still, no Musashi. Kojiro's legendary composure began to fracture. Where was Musashi? Accounts differ. Some say he slept in and had to be woken. Others say he spent the night in meditation. What we know is that he boarded a small boat hours late, and during the crossing, he carved a wooden practice sword from his spare oar
rough, unfinished, longer than his normal blade. He was still carving when the island came into view. The boat scraped the sand. Musashi leaped out, disheveled, late, holding a wooden sword. Kojiro exploded. He drew his nodachi and hurled its scabbard into the sea. Musashi looked at him calmly and said, "You have already lost, Kojiro. A man who throws away his scabbard has no intention of returning alive. But neither does he expect to win." Then he charged. Kojiro launched his Tsubame Gaishi, the legendary swallow counter, the move no one had ever survived. The blade arced down with terrifying precision. It caught Musashi's headband, a single centimeter higher, and Musashi would have been dead. But the wooden sword was already moving. It struck Kojiro at the temple with devastating force. Kojiro collapsed. Kojiro convulsed on the sand. Blood pooled from his temple. His retainers surged forward in fury. Their master, the greatest swordsman of the Hosokawa school, defeated by a vagrant with a piece of wood. Musashi's own seconds held the crowd back. Musashi looked down at Kojiro for a moment. Then he turned, walked back to the boat, and left. Sasaki Kojiro died on that beach. The exact cause of his death is still debated. Some accounts say the wooden sword's blow was instantly fatal. Others suggest his retainers killed him in their rage, mistaking his collapse for defeat. Whatever the truth, the greatest technical swordsman of his age was dead. The greatest unconventional one was sailing home. After Ganryujima, Musashi's reputation became untouchable. He never fought a formal duel again. The Hosokawa clan, his patrons, were shaken but fascinated. Musashi spent the rest of his life not as a warrior, but as a philosopher, calligrapher, painter, and teacher. He wrote his masterpiece, The Book of Five Rings, in a cave in the mountains of Kumamoto in 1645, just weeks before his death. The Book of Five Rings became one of the most influential texts in Japanese history, studied not just by warriors, but by business leaders, strategists, and philosophers for 4 centuries. Translated into dozens of languages, it remains a bestseller worldwide today. The vagrant who carved a sword from a boat oar had written something timeless. Strategy, he argued, is not about weapons. It is about seeing clearly.
But what of the psychological warfare that day on the island? Modern historians believe Musashi's lateness was entirely intentional, a calculated strategy to destroy Kojiro's mental composure before the duel even began. He knew that a man of Kojiro's pride could not wait 3 hours without his mind fraying. By the time Musashi arrived, the duel was already won. The physical clash was almost a formality. This is what makes the Ganryujima duel so enduringly fascinating. It was not won by the better technique. Kojiro's Tsubame Gaeshi nearly killed Musashi. It came within a centimeter.
The duel was won by the better psychology. Musashi understood something we still struggle with today, that the battle of the mind precedes the battle of the body. Control the frame, and you control the fight. There is also a darker interpretation. Some scholars argue Musashi's victory was less honorable than legend suggests. The Hosokawa clan's political support meant Musashi may have faced little threat from retaliation. Others note that the wooden sword, non-lethal by convention, allowed Musashi to strike a killing blow, while technically following the duel's rules. Was it genius, or was it ruthlessness dressed as philosophy? History remembers Musashi as Japan's greatest swordsman, and Kojiro as the cautionary tale. But Kojiro deserves more credit. He was technically superior. He had mastered a technique no one had defeated. He simply made one catastrophic error. He let his emotions enter the arena before his body did. In the end, Musashi's greatest weapon was never the wooden sword. It was patience. Musashi's story ended in a cave with a brush in his hand. But the era that produced him, the Sengoku period, began with a man even more paradoxical. Next time on Samurai Chronicles, the night of June 21st, 1582. The most powerful warlord in Japan is sleeping in a Kyoto temple. His most trusted general surrounds it with 10,000 soldiers. The betrayal that changed everything.
2,600 years of Japanese history, one untold story at a time. If you found value in today's episode, subscribe to Samurai Chronicles. A new story drops every day. And leave a comment. Whose strategy do you think was greater? Musashi's patience or Kojiro's technique? The answer might say something about how you approach your own battles.